I want to bring in NBC's Dasha Burns, who covers the president-elect. Also with us, Washington Post senior national political correspondent and MSNBC political analyst Ashley Parker. Here in studio, former communications director and spokesman for Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and a former staffer for Senator Dick Durbin, Michael Hardaway. Welcome all. So I wonder, Dasha, if you're hearing anything to suggest that the remaining cabinet will look any different, be any different, or do you hear any concerns about a lack of diversity and in some cases, government experience?
In short, no, that simply hasn't been the focus. And it is a striking difference given that President Biden's cabinet was historically diverse. Here, that just has not been a priority. In fact, a lot of the picks that he has made, these are people who have railed against the idea of DEI, want to go away from that as a hiring model in government, and are not really focused on diversity. I mean, it's interesting, though, Chris, because Trump did win a larger share of black and brown voters than many Republicans have in recent history. But as he was campaigning for those votes, he wasn't campaigning on the idea of diversity in the way that Democrats have done in the past. He was focused on an economic message, and loyalty when it comes to his picks is still number one. Diversity is simply not a priority. And again, it's actually antithetical to their hiring practices and how they want to go about this, Chris.
Dasha Burns, thank you for that. Michael, let's look at the numbers, okay? Trump has announced his picks for 16 cabinet positions. 14 are white, or 87% in a country that is about 58% white. 11 are men. That's about 69%, even though women are half of the population. What message does this send?
Well, he's proving a point. Two things. He's proving a point that he can both nominate unqualified people, and Senate Republicans will approve those people in a vote. He's also proven the point that he specifically wants white people in office, and there's nothing you can do about it because you just gave me a mandate in his eyes. And so I think that is the point that is proven there. Here's the ironic thing about this whole conversation about DEI and the lack of diversity. Most of these people are not qualified for the jobs they've been given. And so let's have the conversation about DEI and qualification, because looking at this list, none of these people are qualified.
But can we also talk about what it means in terms of policy making and conversations that you have when you don't have people in the room who have any experience that might mirror the people that you're trying to serve?
Or even worked in the industry, right? I mean, if you look at his education secretary pick and many other people, they've never actually worked in that industry or done that job.
Yeah,
and
she was on a board. Linda McMahon was on a board.
And she's rich.
She's a mom. And
yes.
she's a mom.
And by the way, here's the other thing. A lot of these people are his big donors. And so there's also the stench of the swamp that he's bringing in terms of giving these donors who don't qualify for these jobs these incredibly important positions in his administration.
Yeah, I mean, donors often get jobs. Usually it's what, for lack of a better word, cushy,
an ambassadorship,
ambassadorship,
maybe,
yeah, exactly. I know, Ashley, you've written about Trump's view of an America under Joe Biden as a kind of this dark, dystopian, dangerous place. What does it tell us that the people he's choosing to fix it, because he said he would fix it, don't in fact look like America?
Well, his argument, first of all, it tells you that he doesn't care. Surrounding himself with a cabinet or a team of top advisors who look like America is clearly not a priority for President-elect Trump. When it is a priority for someone, whether it's an incoming president or a candidate, there's certain steps you take. Having covered Vice President Kamala Harris, it was interesting to see that she had very deliberately and in a disciplined manner made a point of surrounding herself with people of color, women of color. This is just not something that Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form cares about. And it also shows that he prizes loyalty above all else. And in this dark dystopian portrait of America that he has painted, which is not quite accurate, but that he believes, he is calling for the utmost of disruption. And so a lot of these people, while not qualified and certainly not traditional picks, his argument is that we need to burn it down. We need to drain the swamp. And these are the best people, regardless of their qualifications, regardless of the skeletons in their closet, and regardless of whether or not they look like the nation that they have been called to represent.
Yeah, and among them are the folks who, I guess we can call them defiant of Me Too choices, right? Peter Baker quotes somebody who wrote a book about this called The Me Too Effect, who says this: the more people he can surround himself with that are not in any way slowed down by their rise to power by these kinds of allegations, it normalizes his own behavior. He's creating a worldview. He's shifting norms as he moves. Is Donald Trump, and we don't know if these folks are all going to be, approved, but is he creating a new normal?
Yes. What he is saying is that these people all have issues, but it doesn't matter.
It's not disqualifying.
It's not. And I can force Senate Republicans to confirm all of these people. And the point kind of is not that they have issues so they may be problematic. They have issues, so I'm going to pick them specifically for that reason and to make a point.
Do you think that's what he did here? He was like in your face?
That's what it is. That's the way that I see it. I think he's making a point here where he's saying, not only do these things not matter, but I'm going to pick these people because they have issues, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I guess you could say, Ashley, this is one kind of change, right? You're nominating or hope to formally nominate a bunch of people who in previous administrations there would have been a vetting process. And I think we can say without fear of contradiction by anyone who understands the previous vetting process that they would have been ruled out before it ever got to this point. But again, voters did ask him for change, but is this group set up to bring the kind of change necessarily that they were asking for? Does he have a different view of what that word means, potentially, change?
Well, to play a little bit of devil's advocate, I don't know from my reporting that he is necessarily going down the list of possible picks and saying, who here has allegations of sexual misconduct against them? I'm going to choose them for that reason. In the case of Pete Hegseth, for instance, his team didn't know about the settlement and the allegations of this woman, in part because they had no vetting process. This is the sort of thing that would come up in a really basic vetting process. But while he might not be using those as pluses, these controversies, what remains true is that he fundamentally doesn't care about them. And when he has someone who he surrounds himself with who has a scandal or has a controversy, what he wants to see them do is what he has done in the past, which is to be defiant and to fight. And that's one of the things he likes about these picks. That's one of the changes he is going to bring to the nation, whether or not that's exactly what voters were choosing. And there's an argument that that's not what they were choosing, because a lot of voters who I talked to before they went into the voting booth, but, talking about who they were going to vote for, they often said, I don't like Trump's behavior. I don't like who he is as a person. I don't like his character, but I liked the economy under him, or I believe that we need change. And so some voters were voting for him in spite of that stuff. So it's interesting now that that is going to be front and center in this team that he is putting together.
Ashley Parker, Michael Hardaway, we continue to follow the bouncing ball that is these elections. Thank you both very much.